I love it. I love it. I love it. Look at this. This is the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Hey, I'm not surprised.
Hey, what's poppin', my homies? Hope you're doing well, doing blessed, having a good day, having a good week. UFC fight night. What's the main event? Oh yeah, Jairzinho Rozenstruik versus Shamil Gaziev. Now, before we make predictions, get into the breakdowns, all that good stuff, let's look at my bets from last week. Last week we did win. We won this card. What did we have? We had Christian Quinones, which that should have won. Then we had a treble. Parlay, Dos Santos, ZM Zalhuba, just under plus 200, that smacked. And then we had another parlay which Yasmin and Raul Roses Jr., that was gonna smack, it half smacked. And then we had Brian Ortega, and I said word for word, Yair Rodriguez is gonna be piecing him up. The moment he gets the back, he's going to wrap him up like a blunt. And we get that. Let's go. That's 2 events in a row. I'm going to profit this event. I've already got a parlay locked in. The win streak started. The win streak is on the go. Let's go. Now, guys, as for MoneyCity, so many people got dusted by Yair Rodriguez. Initially, the pick looked good for Yair Rodriguez. Anyone that made that pick, made that bet, initially it looked great. But it only took one takedown for Yair Rodriguez to be in a world of trouble against an elite jiu-jitsu player. And also an elite jiu-jitsu player that hasn't had a submission in 6 years. Guys, there's only so long a jiu-jitsu player is going to go before they get that sub. And it was supposed to be for Brian Ortega. Tough as nails. He deserved it. Now, guys, unfortunately, there's not going to be a smoke break for this video. And the reason as to why that is, I've not got any weed. And that's very rare, right? You won't hear me say that too much. Alright, guys, let's go. First matchup on the card, we've got Loik Radzhabov taking on Abdul-Kareem Al-Selwady. Now, guys, looking back at Loik Radzhabov in his most recent fight, his striking defense, specifically the calf kick defense, it was really bad. And that's kind of surprising because Rebeki's a wrestler. He's not a Muay Thai player. He's not a Taekwondo player. He's not a kickboxer. He's a wrestler. So to see him land calf kick after calf kick against Loik Radzhabov, it kind of shows you that Loik Radzhabov's striking defense, it's not that good. Now, on the flip side, we've got a newcomer to UFC in Abdul-Kareem Al-Selwady, and he got a contract to UFC by way of the Contender. And not only did he win a fight on the Contender, but he done it as a massive underdog. And the main reason why Abdul won that fight, his activity, it was really good. The non-stop footwork, the takedowns, the toughness. He essentially made the fight more about determination rather than technicality. And that's what Hardwick wanted. Hardwick wanted more of a chess match. And guys, you'll notice that if you go back and rewatch that fight, Hardwick would just cover up. He'll use a high guard and cover up every single time Abdul threw his punches. And we spoke about it last week with Zalhuba and Francisco Prado. When it comes to defense, you can slip and counter. You can use your feet to move out the way of the strikes. And Hardwick used the most inferior defense option in that fight, which is just cover up. Now, guys, I'm going to be siding with Abdul-Kareem Al-Selwady based on his activity, his output, his determination, and also I don't like the bad cardio of Loik Radzhabov, especially when his defense is getting exploited. So give me the newcomer, Abdul-Kareem Al-Selwady. Moving into a matchup between Vinicius, Oliveira taking on Benardo, Sopai. Now, guys, Benardo Sopai is going to be taking this fight on short notice, and in a situation like that, it's a win-win situation, especially when you're young. Nobody knows who you are. You're not expected to win. Right? So essentially you get to rock up on short notice, show the world who you are, and make a few stacks. A couple stacks. Now, guys, here's the thing. Benardo Sopai is pretty decent. He's not bad. Technically, he's pretty good. He's very fast. He's a decent prospect. But there is going to be a couple disadvantages for Benardo, like the height and reach, the experience difference, the power difference. Oliveira doesn't just throw to throw. Oliveira's thrown to cause serious damage. And you see that on the Contender. You know, the calf kicks. The calf kicks of Oliveira, pure money, pure damage. And that's the only way I can see Oliveira really losing the matchup. You know, getting tired, using a lot of energy early in round 1, and then just fatiguing. So if Sopai wins, I think more than likely he gets dusted up early in round 1, and then just works his way back into the fight and takes over. But I'm not going to say that's going to happen. I'm going to say Oliveira wins based on his physical advantage, the experience difference. The calf kicks of Oliveira, they're going to be damaging, specifically at the start of the fight. And I also think the preparation that Oliveira's had, that's another reason to pick Oliveira. So give me Vinicius Oliveira. Moving into a matchup between Christian Leroy Duncan taking on Claudio Riberio. This is a good matchup. Pretty decent. Now, guys, the most recent performance of CLD. That was a complete dusteration. Completely dusted Denis Delulin. The elbow combination to stop the fight is something out of a video game. You would literally see that in a video game. So yeah, really nice work from CLD. And that's something you want to see because his UFC debut wasn't really an accurate representation of his actual skill. But most recently, he's shown us his striking potential. Now the opponent, Claudio Riberio, big power, big calf kicks, big hooks. Now Claudio Riberio can stop the fight. He's got the power, but he is one-dimensional. You're not really going to see him outwork the opponent. You're not really going to see him out-grapple the opponent. You're not going to see him win the fight based on cardio. He's also coming off a really bad loss to Roman Kopylov, where he essentially got dusted. You know, got sent to see the king of Shadow City. You know who. Ben Askren. But my prediction with the matchup, I am going to side with Christian Leroy Duncan to win the fight. And one of the reasons as to why I'm going to do that, if you avoid the calf kicks and the hooks of Ribeiro early in round 1, you can win the fight. Because guys, think about it. If the calf kicks of Ribeiro aren't landing, that means the footwork of CLD doesn't get compromised. And if the footwork of CLD doesn't get compromised, you probably avoid the hooks. And if you avoid the hooks of Ribeiro, that means Ribeiro is going to be catching the air. And if you catch the air and not the opponent, that makes you more tired. Right? Continuously missing. It makes you tired. And if Ribeiro gets tired, the calf kicks aren't landing, the hooks aren't landing, and now CLD's more in control. So yeah, give me CLD. Moving into a matchup between Javid Basharat taking on Aiemann Zahabi. Now guys, if you're somebody that wants to make a bet based on experience, based on a proven underdog winner, in that situation, your pick is going to be Aiemann Zahabi. Because Aiemann beat Draco Rodriguez as an underdog, Ricky Tercios as an underdog, Eric Leng as an underdog. So guys, Aiemann Zahabi's on a nice win streak, and it's also an underdog winning streak. And those win streaks, they're nasty. Now, is his win streak going to continue against Javid Basharat, a rising prospect? Probably not, in my opinion. And the reason for that is Javid Basharat's cardio is really good. He gets better as the fight progresses. And that's not something we can say for Zahabi at this point in his UFC career. He has been looking good, but to assume he would get better as the fight progresses, we can't really assume that. We can assume that would be the case for Javid Basharat. We've seen that, right? He gets better. His round 1's good. His round 2, even better. And I think when Javid Basharat gets to the 5-round fights, which he will do, he's going to be a monster to deal with in those championship rounds. Now, to get to the 5-rounders, you would need to be a veteran like Aiemann Zahabi, and I think he does. And the reason why I think he does, his cardio is much better than Aiemann Zahabi. Aiemann Zahabi can't out-grapple Javid Basharat. And also, guys, the overhand right of Aiemann Zahabi, is that going to land like it did against Draco Rodriguez, like it did against Eric Leng? Probably not. And that's because Javid Basharat moves his feet, is fast, he's smart. Give me Javid Basharat. Moving into a matchup between Ludovit Klein taking on AJ Cunningham. Now, guys, there's levels to the game. There's levels. We say it often, right? We're looking at a pure grappling match. We're looking at the levels. We're looking at a pure striking match. We're looking at the levels. Every single matchup we break down and look at, we're always looking at the levels. You know, where do they shine? Where are they weak? Every single fighter must be looked at. Now, when you look at AJ, it doesn't take long to arrive at the conclusion his striking defense is really bad. It's not going to take long to see that. You know, his defense is just bad. The punches aren't being avoided. There's no slip counter. He's using tough man's defense. What does tough man's defense get you? CTE. That's what it gets you. On the flip side, you've got Ludovit Klein. Super nasty left high kick. He's very sharp with his boxing. Very quick, very fast. He's a sniper. He's a sniper at times with the boxing. But the problem with Ludovit Klein, his cardio, it's not good. But guys, if we had to pick between Ludovit Klein's bad cardio midway into a fight and AJ's terrible striking defense, in my opinion, it's an easy pick. Give me Ludovit Klein to starch, to completely dust AJ Cunningham, potentially round 1. Moving into a matchup between Eryk taking on Jamie Pickett. Guys, let's just keep it real. Let's keep it real. Jamie Pickett. Is Jamie Pickett one of the worst UFC fighters of all time? I'd say so. I'd go as far to say, if you lose a fight to Jamie Pickett, that's like a great indication you should never fight again. Just retire. Retire, never fight again. And guys, you know what's crazy? Why is my intuition telling me that Eryk is going to be a parlay buster? But surely not. Surely not. Because Jamie Pickett, he's just not good. His cardio's not good. His takedown defense isn't good. He's not aggressive. He's more passive. You know, very easy to fight against. And obviously you don't want to be someone who's easy to fight against. You want to be someone that's aggressive, someone that's dominant, someone that's dangerous, significant, powerful. But none of those words really represent Jamie Pickett. Guys, I think one of the reasons why I think Eryk Anders may be a parlay buster, his cardio isn't great. And if you look at his fight against Marc-Andre Barrios, Mark was really targeting the body, you know, a lot of body kicks. But can Jamie Pickett do that? He's very passive, you know, so probably not. For some reason, my intuition tells me go against Eryk Anders, take Jamie Pickett. But that's the thing with intuition. Intuition is, you know, a feeling that's not logically explainable, whereas logic is explainable. Guys, sometimes we roll with the intuition and sometimes the logic. Guys, I'm going to roll with the logic that Eryk Anders should beat Jamie Pickett. And if he doesn't, like I said, if you lose a fight to Jamie Pickett, just retire. It's done. Moving into a matchup between Schnell taking on Steve Erceg. Now, guys, someone mentioned to me that Steve Erceg kind of looks like the human version of Crash Bandicoot. And I can see it. And now I can't unsee it. So please let me know if you can see this connection or if I'm just too stoned. Now, guys, here's the thing. I'm fairly confident that Steve Erceg would beat Schnell. I'm pretty confident that Steve Erceg remains undefeated in the UFC. Now, guys, am I saying that Steve Erceg is going to be a future champion and he's perfect? Absolutely not. If you look at Steve Erceg, he leaves his chin in the air. You can see that on tape. Defensively, he's not the best. But here's the thing. Is Schnell really the guy to teach Steve Erceg about the chin, about the defense? Probably not. And that's because Schnell has a dusty chin, a glass jaw. I do like the speed of Schnell, but when your durability is pure dust, you often find yourself getting dusted. And I think Steve Erceg finds a home for the jab, finds a home for the 1-2, just like he did against Costa. And I also think the grappling of Steve Erceg is pretty good. You know, against the fence, there's control time. On the mat, he's well-rounded. So I'm going to roll with Human Crash Bandicoot, Steve Erceg. I like the work so far. The only thing I don't like is the chin. It's in the air. Now moving into a matchup between Umar Nurmagomedov taking on Behzat Almakhan. There's a good chance I butchered that name. Now, guys, I've watched a couple fights of the newcomer, and I think he's pretty good. He's okay. He's not bad. But, guys, he's pretty good in comparison to who? He's not pretty good in comparison to Umar Nurmagomedov. If we're going to compare this newcomer to Umar, I would say it's just another fighter. Like, there's levels to the game. There's levels to the game, guys. I personally believe that Umar Nurmagomedov will one day be a champion. And that's coming from someone that picked Sean O'Malley as an underdog against Peter Yan. I picked Sean O'Malley as a big underdog to beat Aljamain Sterling. And both those times, you know, I was quite confident, quite passionate with my Sean O'Malley predictions. And both times, you know, people in the comments, he's not going to beat Peter Yan. He's not going to beat Aljamain Sterling. Guys, I'm telling you right now, if we did Umar Nurmagomedov versus Sean O'Malley right now, today, I'm telling you, Umar Nurmagomedov would destroy Sean O'Malley. So that's the level that I'm at with Umar. I think he's going to be a champion one day. I'm pretty sure that he would destroy Sean O'Malley. So to put him up against this newcomer, the newcomer's good. But in comparison to who? Not Umar Nurmagomedov. Give me Umar to find a stoppage. Moving into a matchup between Muhammad Mokaev taking on Alex Perez. Now, guys, here's the thing. If this matchup just stayed on the feet, it just stayed boxing. In that situation, Alex Perez has a pretty good chance at beating Muhammad Mokaev. But the challenge is staying on the feet, right? Muhammad Mokaev, he's a good wrestler. I wouldn't say he's on the same level as like Habib or anyone like that. But his wrestling is very good. And it's also the ability to keep the opponent on the mat. And Mokaev, you know, this is a future champion, in my opinion. I did predict that before his UFC debut, and I'm going to stick with that story. You know, Muhammad Mokaev, wrestling's good, the cardio's good, the ability to impose your will. Muhammad Mokaev, man, the dude's a beast. He's just very dominant, and when he can bring you into his fight, it's kind of difficult to beat him. So yeah, give me Muhammad Mokaev to remain undefeated and to essentially ragdoll Alex Perez. You know, Alex Perez got wrapped up like a blunt by Pantoja. And Pantoja is a really, really good jiu-jitsu player. He's a champion, right? But I think the way Pantoja wrapped him up, Mokaev can get takedowns, especially at this point in Perez's career. You know, like I said, if he keeps the match up on the feet, then he's a live underdog. But is he going to do that? Potentially not. So give me Muhammad Mokaev to remain undefeated and to beat Alex Perez. Now moving into the co-main event, we've got Vitor Petrino taking on Tyson Pedro. This is a really good co-main event. Now Vitor Petrino, if we're looking at his most recent performance, I think there's enough evidence to suggest he is getting better. He is improving. Guys, look at the check hook. Look at the check hook they dusted Modestas with. Like, the counter's good, but the power in the check hook, oh my goodness, violence. Pure violence. So yeah, Vitor Petrino, you don't want to get hit clean by Vitor. This guy's got power for days. Now guys, Tyson Pedro's jiu-jitsu is really good. So if Vitor Petrino gets Tyson Pedro to the mat, look for Tyson Pedro to throw up arm bars, triangles, or even use Kimura sweeps. So the ground game should be pretty fun. And also the stand-up. The improvements that Tyson Pedro's made is clear to see. His kicks are really good. So if Tyson Pedro's landing the calf kick over and over and able to essentially keep that kicking distance, that's going to be a problem for Vitor Petrino. And I'd say Vitor has to challenge him with the kicks. If Tyson Pedro's kicking the lead leg of Vitor has to return it. You know, I'm going to kick the lead leg of Tyson Pedro. Look for that. Look for that battle, because I really do believe that would be a key to victory for Vitor Petrino. For me personally, guys, I'm going to side with Vitor Petrino. I just think his counter punching is going to be effective. It's going to be damaging. And if he looks to challenge Tyson Pedro with the kicks, you know, you land a kick, I land a kick, I think his performance is going to be even better. So give me the Brazilian Vitor Petrino. Moving into the main event, we've got Jairzinho Rozenstruik taking on Shamil Gaziev. Now guys, let's speak about Jairzinho. Now Jairzinho has only lost to good competition. Let me bring up his record. Now guys, Jairzinho's lost to Francis Ngannou, Cyril Gane, Curtis Blades, Alexander Volkov, Jailton Almeida. Now all of those guys, they're all pretty good. You know, Francis, he could sleep a plane. Cyril Gane, lightness for days. Curtis Blades, one of the best wrestlers. Volkov, turned into a monster in the last 2 years. Jailton Almeida, one of the best jiu-jitsu players. So all the competition that Jairzinho Rozenstruik has lost to, they're all monsters. Now would this be a monster loss? Is Shamil Gaziev a monster? Or would this be a loss that's arguably the worst loss of Jairzinho's career? In my opinion, it's difficult to say. It's pretty difficult to say, because looking at Shamil Gaziev in his UFC debut, he beat the brakes off Martin Buday. And I had Shamil Gaziev as a slight underdog against Martin Buday. An underdog against Martin Buday. Guys, Martin Buday is like, what? Josh Parisian's half brother. He's terrible. And he's a slight underdog. Going in there, a slight underdog. And now he's fighting Jairzinho Rozenstruik in a main event. So this is a massive step up for Shamil. To go from Martin Buday to a main event against Jairzinho. Massive step up. But you can see in that fight, in his UFC debut, the pressure, the jab, the 1-2, the constant bullying in the clinch. He really dusted Martin Buday. Now Jairzinho Rozenstruik, his grappling is really bad, his ground game is really bad, and his cardio's not the best. But if you just stand and throw bombs, if you're just standing and striking with Jairzinho Rozenstruik, you're going to give Rozenstruik what he wants. He wants to strike. Guys, in my opinion, it's not an easy pick to make, because if you pick against Rozenstruik, then you're basically doing that based on just a UFC debut. And if you do pick Jairzinho, then in that situation, you might be picking against a monster in Shamil. It's difficult to make a pick. But guys, in a gun to the head situation, heavyweight mixed martial arts, give me Shamil Gaziev. As always guys, let me know what you're taking in the main event, the co-main event, your straight bets, your doubles, your parlays, your MoneyCity bets. Drop all that in the comment section below. And as always, keep your eyes to the sky, never glued to your shoes. Peace.